name is Kelly Nichols. I serve as a middle school principal, and I'm here with Mrs. Stephanie Bishop, our 5th grade math teacher at EMS. We are creating this video to dig deeper into MAP growth testing by sharing with you how to read the student progress report. We think this is an opportune time to share as we are transitioning from sending the paper copy home with each student to posting it on Skyward. This change will affect all students in kindergarten through 8th grade, as each building will be making this transition. Mrs. Bishop, we know a MAP test is not an IQ test. It doesn't measure how intelligent you are, but could you tell us what the test is?
Sure. Well, it's definitely just one piece of who your student is. It's not a definition of who they are. MAP is actually an acronym for Measures of Academic Progress. And in our case, we take reading and math. We take the test 3 times a year to measure your students' academic progress and see how much growth is being made throughout the year, as well as also identifying areas for future growth.
So before we dig deeper into the student progress report, what do teachers do with the data?
Sure. Well, without getting too detailed, on a big scale, we use it as a classroom as a whole to differentiate and help guide our classroom instruction, but then also we can hone in on individual students working with individual goals and action plans.
So as I mentioned earlier, you now as a parent are going to have access to the student progress report at any time by logging on to Skyward. Mrs. Bishop, will you tell us what that report looks like?
Sure. Well, coming up on the screen, you are going to see a progress report here that the first thing that jumps out and you can take a look at are the 3 colored lines. The blue line is your individual student's line, the orange line is our district average, and the yellow line is the national norm. This triple line graph allows you to quickly and visually compare your students' data to other students in their grade level in our district, as well as the national norm for the grade level. Where is the dark blue line compared to the other 2 lines? Where has it been? Where do you want it to be for your child? You can also compare your student to their own historical data. How did they do on this test compared to their previous tests? Where are their peaks? Where are their valleys? What is the trend of their blue line? Right below this graph are the skill area breakdowns with descriptors of how your child scored in those areas compared to the national norm. You will see one of 5 scoring categories labeled next to each skill: low, low average, average, high average, or high. If you look to the right now, you will see the data table with their most recent test on top. A few things to make note of here are the RIT scores, the growth, and the percentiles. As with the line graph, consider where your students' percentiles have been, where it is now, and where you would like it to be. The only way for the percentile to go up is for your student to grow better than the projected growth. If they don't reach their projected growth, their percentile will go down, even though their RIT score may have actually gone up.
Thank you. So now you know a little bit more about this report, and you might be wondering, what can you do with this information? Well, first, we encourage you to encourage your student as they set goals with their teacher or as they're working on specific areas. Second, recognize trends over time and identify areas that are strengths and areas that may need improvement. And finally, if you'd like, ask the classroom teacher what role you could play in supporting your student as they grow. Mrs. Bishop, what happens if we see a big gain or a big drop from one test to another?
Sure, and that can happen. But first off, don't get too excited or too upset. There are sometimes outliers. Remember, it is a multiple choice test and there is a margin of error. Focus on the overall trend over multiple tests, not just one test. You can also compare it to the district mean and the national norm and see if they've also experienced a dip or a peak.
All right. I want to reiterate, this is just one piece of information that helps us understand who our students are as a whole. We encourage you to look at the data the same way. Let's all use this as a starting point to grow. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. If you have any further questions, you can ask your classroom teacher or you can contact the building principal.
Thank you.